All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have each of you joining us from the different parts of the world. This is Arash Awajani. I'm a Microsoft MVP and community leader from Vancouver, Canada. Today I'm going to host our session about how to become a business application superstar in 5 steps that will be present by Nicole Enders. Uh, uh, before adding Nicole to the stage, I'm going to introduce a little bit about our Power Platform Learner to Leader community and the Microsoft Learn community here. So the Microsoft Learn community is a collection of experience offering learners with a variety of ways to connect and engage with other learners and technical experts to increase expertise on the topic that matter most to learner and achieve career goals. Achieve your learning goals by connecting with other learners and or worldwide network of Microsoft Learn experts in our all-new learning room design for direct engagement into topic-specific question via asynchronous discussion and virtual session to help you achieve your skill building goals in a global, diverse, and inclusive environment. So where to find the Microsoft Learn community? Use this link, aka.ms/Microsoft Learn community. And as you know, there are several different learning room in the Microsoft Learn community. So you can using this link and join to the learning room based on your skills, and what skills would you like, to learn from the Microsoft Learn community. So there are so many learning rooms in the Microsoft Learn community. You can access to these learning rooms through the aka.ms/learning rooms link. And also the Power Platform Learner to Leader is one of Microsoft Learn learning rooms, which has more than 2,000 members. We are sharing the latest information about Power Platform in our learning room and also conduct this series of sessions every Saturday for Power Platform enthusiasts. If you are not member of our tech community, join through this link, aka.ms/join PPLTL. And the last slides for today is our code of conduct. So Microsoft aims to empower everyone globally through knowledge sharing and events, ensuring a respectful and inclusive environment for all. Harassment and or degrading behavior is not tolerated, and everyone is responsible for upholding these standards. The code of conduct encourage awareness, friendliness, respect, openness, understanding, and kindness. So before we begin, and also adding Nicole to the stage, there are a few notes here, important notes here. If you have any question during the presentation, feel free to type them in the chat box at the right side in the StreamYard platform or through the YouTube or LinkedIn channel. And we will have a dedicated Q&A session toward at the end. And last but not least, this session is being recorded for those who could not join us live and will be available shortly in Power Platform Learner to Leader YouTube channel. So that's all at my end. I'm going to add Nicole to the stage and to start her presentation. Nicole is Microsoft MVP and managing consultant, and today we have a great session. So it's about the how to become business application superstar in 5 steps. Hi, Nicole.
Hi,
How are you doing?
good, and you?
Good, good. Thank you for joining us today. It should be a great, I'm sure that it's a great session. So we cannot wait actually to learn from you around business application and your magic five steps that you will share with us.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love this session because it's a such huge topic.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I think we will see a mix of some slides because it's always good if you have something where you can check what's the concept about, but we will also see how it's going on live because I think when we are talking about the Power Platform, that's the mission, I would say, that everybody can build his own application. And in my
Awesome.
sessions, maybe some people already know that I'm talking about Tanya. So Tanya is my virtual or my friend in all these sessions, and I talk about her story, what she's doing, what she tries to do, because I
Okay.
have a background as a software developer, and so
Mm-hmm.
I'm a technical person, and I talk to so many people who are from the business, and they want to have a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. So a stage on yours, and you can start, your presentation, and that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, welcome from my side. I want to talk about how you can become a business application superstar in 5 steps. I know that's some kind of these marketing buzzwords, but I mean it like this. So, if you go out of the session, then you know where you have to check some information, how you can start, and what's about your first business application you want to build. Yeah, and we also had some kind of an introduction. But if you don't know me and you want to stay in contact afterwards, then you find me on LinkedIn and you find me on X. I always try not to say Twitter, but it's not so easy. Yeah, and I brought here my favorite hashtags because you see there what's going on in my daily life. So I'm talking about modern workplace in many sessions. That's the main part of my daily work as a managing consultant. And then sometimes we have a focus on Microsoft Teams. Sometimes it's more about the Power Platform. If we talk about a mix of both, so we will also see today that if you start on Teams, that doesn't mean that you cannot go with Power Platform afterwards. So we talk about collaborative apps as well. And I love mixed reality as a topic. So if you know about Microsoft Mesh and so on, then I'm going there as well. And at the moment, as Microsoft is going crazy with all this AI stuff, we have Copilot here and whatever. So that's so roundabout. Yeah, and because I'm doing a lot of session today, it's an online session, but sometimes I have on-site sessions and I'm traveling a lot of, and then as a fantasy fan, you see there a lot of Lord of the Rings, for example. Then I'm checking out if I travel to a place, if there's something where a movie was made or whatever, and I want to check out what the places really look like. Yeah, and I think this research capabilities help in the daily business as well, because sometimes you have a huge challenge, so you have to think about what's going on, and if we are going here and you see now Tanya for the first time. So Tanya, it doesn't really matter if she's working for HR or she's working for a back office or whatever. So Tanya has a lot of problems in her daily life because somebody was thinking about maybe a few years ago what would be the right business application to support the people who are working for the company. But the people in the different departments, they really know what they need because they say, okay, this business application is really good and this business application is not so good. So maybe you also have a missing part. So we see the question mark right here. We have a missing part in a business application where you say, why didn't anybody think about this? So why don't we have a business application which supports the whole business process? Or maybe there's a business process nobody was thinking about. We know a lot of change during the pandemic. So I'm from Germany, and here in Germany we have a lot of business processes which are more paper based. So think about that you need to fill out a form. Then before the pandemic, it was quite often that you had a Word document, and then you had to print it out. You have had to enter some data in a handwritten format, and then it was going from one person to the other, and you had no idea at a special moment at which place we are now in the business process. So what's the really status of your request form, for example? Yeah, and nowadays we think about, okay, everything needs to be digital. I'm not sure if it really is. So I know some of my customers aren't, but we see that even if you try to have a digital version of your business process, not every business application is ready for it. And so Tanya, in my case, she is responsible for bid management and maybe also for customer satisfaction. So she's at the beginning of my process. So she has to think about if a customer wants to have a new project. I'm doing a lot of Microsoft 365 projects, you can imagine. And if she knows, okay, a customer has a need, then she is responsible to think about, do we write a proposal or not? Because sometimes we cannot deliver the right solution, and then it would not be a good idea to write a proposal. And on the other hand, at the end of the project, because between this, that's my job, at the end, she is responsible to ask the customer if he is satisfied with the solution he got, or if we can something improve or whatever. Yeah, and Tanya said to me at a coffee break, Nicole, we need a business application. There needs to be a solution because yes, I tried something on my own, but it didn't really work. So I have a team room for my bid management. So for Tanya and the other colleagues right there. Yeah, and we are doing there a lot of stuff. But when it comes to manage all the data we get from the customers. So a customer says if he's satisfied or not, but he has also some input fields where he can add some data. Um, there isn't a real solution for this. And then I said, okay, mm, yeah, I understand, Sanya. Um, I have a few questions for you. And that I can only say to you if you are thinking about a business application. So if you are more a business person and not a technical person as I, then think about those questions as well because they help you to find out of the box solution or to find the right way to build your own solution. Not every time building a custom solution is the best choice. Sometimes there's already something prepared for you. So what is the first question you should ask? The first question is, what's about your current business process? You maybe saw already a lot of pictures out there if you see not digital business process and you see the digital version of this business process. If it's only a digital movement right there, then it can be that your business process doesn't get better. So if there's something going wrong this time, or if something takes a long time, and you only move from the hand or the paper-based process to the digital version, then maybe you won't get a better solution for this. Yeah. So think about what needs to be improved in your business process. So think about optimization, maybe to change your process. So have a look out there if this is not a process which is special to your company. So really, really special because you have a business which is not the same as for many others, then there is probably a solution out there. Maybe somebody also wrote that there is a solution or a business application which can be used by you. And the next question, so the third one is, do you want to support the whole business process with an IT solution? I have an example for you. So if you have a recruiting process, you have some people who want to get a job in your company. They apply for the job. And then you have the application. So you have all the information about the candidate, about the position he wants to have. And then you have a process where you're doing interviews. Maybe entering the result of an interview is an interesting point for your business application, but supporting the interview itself is maybe not a good idea to put it into your business application, because it's a several group of people who needs this application. You don't really know what a person asked in the interview and so on. So maybe it's a Teams meeting, maybe it's an on-site interview. So in not every case you would find a good solution. And if you think or if you have more and more questions about such a part in your business process, that can be the situation where you say, okay, I don't need to support this several step. So I have the option to go with the business process at all, but not with the interview, for example. Yeah, and after asking these questions, you have an idea. Okay, now I want to start and want to support my business process. My business process, I think there are three main parts. So the first thing maybe I would think about is, how should it look like? So I think about, maybe you need one or more input forms, so you need to enter data. And the next part is, this data needs to be stored somewhere. So do I need some kind of a database or so? You see, I'm a technical person. I am thinking about a database and maybe a web application or whatever. And there's a part between, that's the business logic, so the business process itself. So maybe you will have a nice chart that you say, okay, this is my starting point. This is the target I want to reach, and here are several steps between this beginning and end of my process. Maybe you have some conditions, so maybe you have to think about, if the field is entered in this way, then I need to go with a complete different process part as the second one. But you have a you have a chart, and you need to find your solution which fulfills the requirements for the user interface, so the form, the data to be stored, and all the process information which needs to be collected during the several steps. Yeah, now think about what you have in your daily life. Maybe you have Microsoft 365 in your company, so you are going with Microsoft Teams for your meetings. Maybe you're using this for chat. You have team rooms or whatever. Um, Maybe you also have a SharePoint-based intranet. Yeah, that's fine. Um, are you storing your documents in OneDrive? So you have your personal file storage. Yeah, and yeah, maybe you are using forms for some service, or if you want to collect some data. But that that's it. So maybe you are not using any other solutions right there. So the first idea Tanya can have is that she thinks, okay, what do I have? Oh, I have Teams, and behind Teams, so the team room has a SharePoint site in the background. So maybe I can use SharePoint as a data storage. So I know it's not a database because I only have there different lists. I also could go with Microsoft lists, but Microsoft lists are SharePoint lists as well. Yeah, now I create a list. I create a list with the necessary fields. And what's really nice, if you add the fields, they are added to the form. So if you see here, you have new items. So I click in my list for employees, for example, I click on new, and then I have all the fields, I can add this data right there. I have later on a list with all the entered data. Maybe I can export it to Excel or whatever. Um, but at this moment, it's okay that I have this kind of table. SharePoint, everything is called a list. So it looks like a table, but it's called a list. Um, I can change the order of the fields. So if I want to have the first name as the first field, then the last name, the email address, and so on, I can change this. And I can add some kind of simple validations. So maybe I can say this is a required field or a mandatory field, you can say. Maybe if I have a choice field, so maybe for status, that you say, okay, I have a choice and I don't enter this data manually, then you can have some rules, maybe to have a status in a blue color and the other status in a green color or so. And that's what I can do with SharePoint. We could do a little bit more, but at the moment that's fine because nowadays we also know that I can edit the form of the SharePoint list as well. So I can go with a complete different layout as I see here. In the past, so once upon a time, some people who are in the Microsoft world for much longer maybe remember InfoPass forms. InfoPass forms were some kind of a self-service, so I could create a complete new form as I wanted to have it. It was an electronic form that was a designer right there in the MS Office suite. And I could say, okay, I need to have this fields on the first page. I create some kind of a wizard, and then I have more fields on the next side, and so on. You could go with a lot of more options, but what was really important was it was integrated into SharePoint. So integrated into SharePoint means that you could start from scratch here in InfoPath and then create your form and publish it to SharePoint, though, so that every user could use this form, add the data, and then it was stored in a document library. So the technology behind this was that I'm going with documents after saving my data. And the other part was that I had already a SharePoint list and I wanted to modify my input form. And as I'm doing this, I can for sure change the layout. I can add a lot of more rules. So maybe I have some rules that complete area with input fields is visible or not. Depends on the other entered data. Maybe I go with buttons for the wizard, so go back or go forward. And I could also send the entered data via email. So this was all before the Power Platform was there. But as you will see in a few moments, we nowadays have a lot of more options. So back to Tanya and her problem at the moment. Tanya wants to support a part of her business process. She wants to manage the results of a customer satisfaction survey. And as she told me, she said, okay, in the already existing team room, she added a SharePoint list. She has the customer satisfaction service survey itself as a forms form, and the flow is adding the data from the form to the SharePoint list. I know that she prepared this a long time ago, but nowadays I would say, why aren't you going with the SharePoint list and then creating or modifying the form via forms? But that's her story. So Tanya was talking to me, and as I said, okay, now I'm on vacation for 2 weeks. She was talking to Tom, some of my colleagues, and she told him um, the results of our discussion and asked him for help because, as she understood, there should be a better way. And then Tom, he is a hardcore software developer, I have to say. Tom said, okay, for sure, I can help you. Mm, maybe I start this way. It's nice that you have this SharePoint list there, Tanya, but it doesn't really help me. So I will go another way. I will create a website for you with HTML. I need a web service with .NET, and then I will create an SPFX web part, maybe a few other stuffs as well. I will use German, and there's Node.js behind this. The Gulp, I already need a task runner, so that's a complete package. And at the end, you get the solution which needs to be added by a SharePoint admin in our tenant. And I also will create a PowerShell script for you so that you can install everything. Um, if you don't want to install it, maybe I can do this for you as well. Okay. Maybe you have now the same questions as Tanya, because Tanya is asking herself, what is he talking about? She didn't understand what he was talking about. SPFX, Joe man, gulp. It looks like something to drink or so. Um, and now she really, really hopes that Tom understands her because she needs help. She doesn't need a second problem. Yeah. So the great question is, aren't there any other options? So Tanya likes Tom. I'm not there. So she needs another way. Yeah. And as I can say, mm, I can tell you for sure there are other options because the world has changed, as Galadriel says in Lord of the Rings. As a Lord of the Rings fan, I love these different citations we can go with. So this is a quote very at the beginning of Lord of the Rings. The world has changed, and you can feel it, you can hear it, you can smell it. Yeah, and I think if you look on the daily business, that's the same because it's time for the makers. You can build your own application. There's so many options right there. So in some cases, the way with the SharePoint list with forms and Power Automate would be enough for your scenario. In Tanya's case, it's not the issue, so you'll find another solution. But if you see here, if you know Lord of the Rings, then you will probably remember the scene at the end. For everybody who's not familiar with the fantasy saga, I can tell you, you see here four people. These four people that they are so-called hobbits, so very small people. So in the stories, they are not human, so they are from a special region in this fantasy world, and they are living in a world where they think they cannot have an impact, any impact, not a huge impact. They cannot have an impact at all on the daily life of other people. But here in this scene, we are very, very close to the end of the whole story. And these four hobbits became the heroes of the story. So everybody is taking a knee. So they are the tallest persons here in this the scene, and they are the ones who had an impact. And I want you to have an impact on your daily business and as well on the daily business of your colleagues. I want you to become the hero of your own story. Yeah, and how can you do this? So the first thing is that you think about that you have Microsoft 365, that you have a lot of different tools out there. And if we now have a deeper look on the Power Platform, then we don't see here everything of the Power Platform. I selected a subset here. So you will always have a business process. So Power Automate is a very good choice to consider for your business application. Power Apps, maybe you want to build a mobile app, so think about that you want to do something with your smartphone. But even if you don't want to, you can build your application with Power Apps. It's quite easy to start with. I know there's always the point where maybe a technical person can have a look and check if everything is in a proper format or if there can be some improvements. But you can start building your own application because you are the expert of your business process. And maybe you want to store your data. And you don't want to do this in SharePoint because SharePoint has some limitations. It's not dedicated for supporting a business process, which with a special size, I would say, with a special impact, because a SharePoint list is for something in a smaller format. If you want to have your business data at the right place, then Dataverse is the best choice. And you can combine Dataverse with Power Apps. And this will we see when we go to the live demo. If you want to analyze your collected data, you can go with Power BI. Maybe you also want to add some artificial intelligence. Maybe you have some documents, you want to add them. So think about invoices where you want to read the data automatically and not Tanya or somebody else needs to open every document. Then you can build an AI model with the AI builder and use this in your application. And because Copilot is the huge topic out there at the moment. You have Copilot Studio to build your own chatbots with generative AI, with generative answers and actions. Um, in this session, we won't see this so much, but I know that there's a lot of going on out there. So there are a lot of sessions at the moment. We see them on several events. But let's start with Power Apps and Dataverse for now. And before we go and build our own application, as I already said, check if there is already a business application for you. So Microsoft Dynamics 365 is built on the Power Platform and can be customized and enhanced with the Power Platform also. And if you see here, Dynamics 365 has a lot of modules, maybe a module for marketing, a module to support your sales process, or if we go on the other side, maybe for supply chain management, or if you want to have support for your project operations, so planning your projects, scheduling everything, thinking about if you have the right people at the right place. So you can do some resource management there as well, and a lot of more. I cannot cover all this because there's too much, and each module would need one or more sessions. So let's go to the Power Platform because we say supporting this special part of the customer satisfaction management is something we want to do now with our custom solution. So let's build our own business application. And that's the point where we go to our environment. So as you see here, I'm back again and I'm doing now here my work as a maker in the Power Platform. So what do we see here? We are on the homepage of the Maker portal here for Power Apps. And one thing, maybe you wouldn't see this directly in the session. One thing I only can recommend is we see here that I'm in an environment, it's called dev. If you will look this in your company, maybe you wouldn't see this. So maybe you would only see something which is called like your company name or something quite similar. And then you see default at the end of the name. That's the environment you always have, as default already says. But if you are building your own applications, then in a company, you would, or I only can recommend to you that you check that you're working with different environments. And I have here an environment where I can work as a developer. So it's not productive at the first point, but if you have an administrator or you have a person who is responsible for governance, they will have a process how to get your solution, which is here in this environment, to the productive environment. So that's only a recommendation I can't give at this situation, but that's why we also see here that this is a developer environment. So this wouldn't probably be there if you go to your default environment. Yeah, and the next point is I could go here with a plus and I could now create an application. But at the beginning, I want to mention that it's a best practice or recommended practice, as you can call it as it is, that you go with solutions. Because now, as I'm going here in the separate environment, we need to think about how does somebody know which artifacts are relevant to go to my to get my solution to the other environment. Yeah, and I need a solution. So it's some kind of package I built right there. And if I go to new solution, I have to add a display name. The other name, the internal names is set immediately. So display name and maybe name are the same if you only have one word. And then you have to select a publisher. And that's also something you see here. I added my company name right there. You will probably only find the two ones, the default publishers. But that's also a good point. If you are building solutions for your company, then maybe you will get here your own publisher. And if a company, so a consultant or whoever, so somebody who is outside of your company builds solutions for you, maybe he will go with another publisher. So you always see who is the publisher, what is this such for a kind of solution. So I already did this. I have here my customer satisfaction management solution. And at the moment, it's quite empty. So I have only one part here in it. Hmm, maybe that's from another session. So I want to remove this. So I want to have the empty solution right here. So that was quite nice. And now I say, okay, I want to start with my SharePoint list I already have. I don't want to have the SharePoint list, but Tanya said to me that she created such a list. And what can I do? So let's check what's going on. She was talking to me about the customer satisfaction management survey. So he wants to reconnect right here. So my customer satisfaction survey, you see it's not so many stuff we see here. So I would expect that we have three fields in the SharePoint list because there are three questions which are asked for the customer. Yeah, and let's check. So if I go here to Microsoft Teams, Tanya was so kind and added me to her bid management team, and we will see this now if we go here. So here's the bid management team, and here's the customer satisfaction survey. Mm, let's have a look. This looks like the forms form, which was added there. And here is the SharePoint list. Yeah, and now I want to have this SharePoint list because there are more than three fields, as we see here. I want to add them here to my solution. I want to have a table. I can now say, okay, I want to have a table. Do I want this or this? I'm not sure. So maybe we go back again because I want to show you, you can add here new, but you can also add an existing one. And if you go to tables right here, it's always a good point because this are your dataverse tables. So think about if there is already something, if there is already a table you could use. I'm pretty sure that the customer satisfaction is not there. So maybe we will go here and create a new table. So a virtual table, that would be a connection to a several data source, but I want to use this SharePoint list as some kind of a template. Don't want to have a connection between this. I want to have my own table. So I go here and I say create a new table. Maybe you saw this that I have here now different options. So maybe I can start with Copilot. I can import a SharePoint list or an Excel or CSV if you have, or I start from blank. Starting from blank means that you have to add all the different colors by your columns by your own. I don't want to do this, so I try import a SharePoint list. And now, because I already did this, you will see that I will find my bit management SharePoint site and the dedicated list quite easy. If you don't find this, then you need to add the URL of your SharePoint site, and then he will add every list which is relevant there. So I select here bit management because that's the SharePoint site which is behind the team room. And then I select customer satisfaction survey. So go back here again, customer satisfaction survey. This is this SharePoint list we have here. So, and then I say import. Then he is now checking the different columns in my SharePoint list. If he can import anything. And here in this case, he says, no, I need your attention. And then I say, okay, maybe let's check, let's view the data. So what's the problem? And it says, okay, data validation errors were found. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I know what he has as a problem because he says here, I have a decimal and he doesn't understand what's about the percentage. So we see here, we have the red border right here. And if I go here and I remove the percentage, then we see that he's now going and doing a rounding. So he rounds up or down, depends on the several value. And now he says, okay, now I'm fine. I can import it. And then here we say save and exit. Yep, I've done my work. And now he is adding the table itself, the different columns we have right there. So with the right data type, and he's also adding the data. So we say here, customer satisfaction survey. And maybe you also see here, we have an internal name, and maybe you're wondering what's about here, this CR81C. That's a prefix which is used by my publisher I have here. And that's how I'm using the several functions. If I would have done this in my solution, my publisher has a different prefix I'm using. But now I'm going here and I say, okay, I want to have my table, say here, add existing table, and then I could go with the search field, but customer satisfaction survey doesn't seem to be so far away. So I'm going here, select this, say next, say, okay, include all objects which are there. And then I have my table here, my solution. So if you are only staying in this environment or everything is fine, you wouldn't need to do this, but think about that your solution is your package to do the deployment later on in your productive environment. Here in this case, I'm only in a development environment. Yeah, now I have here my table. So let's check what's going on with this table. My table is right here. You see all the data right in here. And now I could add more columns if I want to have a relation to another table I already have in Dataverse. So think about if you would have a person who is responsible for the different categories and you have a user table in the Dataverse, then you could go with this as well. But here, this one, forms and views are much more interesting because I can now design the input form. I can now design the views which are there. But let's first check what's already there. And to check this, I start here and I create an app. I create an app and maybe I talk to here and say customer satisfaction management. Click create. And now a lot of stuff is prepared for you. You will see there's so much that you need to think what do you want to customize right there. So here we are in the solution studio of Power Apps. So he created a model-driven app for me. And I click on play. So I'm not doing anything at this moment. So I click on play. You see it's new browser tab has opened. And my data is here. So this data was copied to the SharePoint list. So if we are now changing something in the SharePoint list, it doesn't end up here. So if we want to have this later on here, maybe we would need to modify the flow in Power Automate that if somebody is entering the forms form, it's not stored in the SharePoint list anymore, or if it's stored in the SharePoint list and here you can, it's all up to you what you are doing. But here in this case, if I click on new, I have a form right here. And as you see here, I don't need to add a special field who is responsible for the record right here. We already have a field. That's a built-in field we see in Dataverse every time. So every table has this field. There's an owner for this record. And now maybe you are asking, why are some fields filled out? Yes, I'm going with Copilot right here, and Copilot wants to help us. And he says, okay, please say if I did good. And I added the right data. So I could go here and add new stuff, but maybe that's not the scenario we have. So maybe we only want to check which data was added by the customer, and then we want to proceed with this data. Maybe you want to have a visualization. So you have the Power BI integration as we already know this from SharePoint. So in the SharePoint list, you also can create a Power BI report based on your data. Or you say, no, I want to have a process and I can create a complete new flow. Maybe you want to trigger it here manually, or I don't show this in the session, but you can also go and have a business process which has some kind of a status bar here at the top. So you will see at which process step we are right now and how we are proceeding. So it's always also collecting the time, how long it takes from one step to the other. So, but this can also can be done right here in your Power App Solution Studio. So you can add the navigation. So at this moment, we only added here group one and our customer satisfaction survey. Maybe you want to add additional links, or you want to add more tables. So maybe you want to store more data. Then you can go here, add a Dataverse table. Maybe you want to add a custom page for some help information or whatever. And you can also add dashboards. So dashboards maybe with a combination of Power BI reports and maybe also with some flows you can trigger or an integration of your Power App and whatever. So it's up to you what you are doing right here. So the table itself, I would always add in the table, not here in the app. So you only select which parts of your table are relevant here in your application. And if you are ready, then you can say, okay, I want to publish this. And then you share your app. So please don't forget to share your app. Here in my scenario, as I have my dev environment, sharing maybe is not the point I need to do. But if you say here, I want to add this to Microsoft Teams. So in a productive environment, you want to add it to Teams, maybe in the bid management team rooms or in a complete different area. Or I want to share this with other people. So if I share this, then I can select all the different people right there. Yeah, and that's all you have as options. So I want to give you too much options here in the session. So the first point is go with tables. Go with your app. You can create your app right here, as we saw from the table itself. If you want to change a form, for example, we go here to forms for one moment, then you can say, okay, I want to modify this form right here. You see all the columns of your table on the left, and you can decide which ones need to show up in which order, or if you want to have a complete different layout, maybe you want to have a two-column layout or whatever, then you can do this right here. And if you want to have a complete new form, you can also go with a new form, and you decide in your app which forms and which views and which processes are available. So a lot of options you see right here, but as I said, I want you to become the business application superstar in 5 steps. So that's the time where we need to talk about these 5 steps. Maybe you already learned some of them, but I want to wrap it up here at this point. So my checklist for you, how to become the superstar. Let's start with the first one, and I'm pretty sure that you already took the step. So the first step is that you take responsibility, that you decide that you want to be a citizen developer, you want to be a maker, you want to change something. And if you took this step, then the second one is quite easy because you want to learn to use the tools of the Power Platform. In my demo, you saw Power Apps. So you saw, okay, I start with a data table. I'm using Dataverse right there. And then I create an app and then I customize this app so it fulfills my needs. In other cases, you need to get familiar with Power Automate. And maybe Power Apps is the second or the third step for you. But you can go to Microsoft Learn. You can get so many of these learning modules, the learning paths. There's so much good stuff you can get to learn to use the tools in a proper way. And then that's I would say the most important point. Create a quick win solution. So create a small solution. So maybe my friend Tanya has a lot of ideas, but she said, okay, I want to support one special process part. I want to manage the results of a customer satisfaction survey. So she has only one table. She has maybe a business process behind this. She can extend this and. But she starts with a very small situation and then it can grow and it becomes bigger and bigger. And at the end, we have a lot of solutions out there and maybe a person who looks a little bit if this business solution and this business solution can work together, for example. But how should this person look like? Maybe the fourth point will help there. Because if you inspire your colleagues and you build a team, so together we achieve more. If you build a team, then you have people to talk about your solution and another person maybe build a complete different business application, but you can combine both. Or you can also talk about some challenges you are facing. Another person maybe has a solution for your challenge, or you learned something new and the other person didn't know about this. And this person would be very thankful because uh, she will maybe save a lot of time for this. Yeah, and the last point, as we are here, for learner to leader. So if you want to become a leader and you are now at the starting point, then think about if you learn something new, share your knowledge and talk about what you are doing because everybody of us starts as a learner. And if you learn something new and you talk about this, even if you think that this person is very, very experienced or is an expert in his area, he doesn't know about everything. So if everybody of us shares this knowledge, shares her knowledge, and we are exchanging this experience, then we all get better, and we are a huge team out there in the community. So I'm very excited what kind of a business application you will build in the future. I thank you very much. And as I said, if you want to stay in contact later on, then you can find me on social media and we can have a chat about nearly everything in the Microsoft 365 area. Yeah, and now I'm curious if we have some questions.
Oh, thank you so much. So it was great steps to become a business application superstar. It was started from the how to learn, uh, about the business application and how to be a leader, in the business application by sharing the knowledge, something like that. So it was great point, I think, for the people who are interested actually to start building application using Power Platform products family. And it was great start points here. Thank you, Nicole, for your uh, presentation. So I know that there are a lot of things that you can present for us, but our time is tight actually, so we need to wrap up our session. But for those who attended today's session, I have a good news. So you will get a voucher, 50% voucher discount for the Power Platform fundamental exam. So I will send an email, a separate email to our today's attendees, and they will get this discount, and they can start and taking the Power Platform fundamental exams. So it's come from the Microsoft Learn team, so I can share this with you. Thank you for joining us today, and this is what I can for you, because it's uh, or actually the or today's session is how to start building the business application. So it's required that you know uh, about the Power Platform fundamentals. So this voucher will help you to take this exam as well. And another things here, let me share my screen to talk about two things at the end. Uh, let me share my screen here. Mm, give me a second. Okay, here, as you know, it's a AI skill challenge that's ran on September 24th, and it's end on November 1st. So it's a good opportunity for you guys that's join to this challenge and start learning more about the AI from the Microsoft Learn community. And it's the topic that you can join our introduction to Azure AI, build intelligence app with Microsoft Azure, build an extend Copilot Studio, Microsoft Fabric, accelerate developer productivity with GitHub and Azure for developers, and also secure your data in the age of AI. There are six topics here. You can register through this link in the AI Skill Challenge landing page in the Microsoft Learn to get actually your badge, and also level up your skills in the AI actually technology, like the Copilot Studio, Azure, Microsoft Fabric. And another things here that you can prepare yourself to earn the Microsoft Apply skills through the Microsoft Learn. Uh, so if you come here in the browse credentials, you will see so many Apply skills exam that you can take of one of them actually. And there, if you filter the Microsoft Power Platform in the product section, you have three uh, product here and three apply skills exams that you can take. Create and manage automated processes by using Power Automate. Create and manage Canvas app with Power Apps. Create and manage model driven apps with Power Apps and Dataverse. So it will provide actually the apply skills will provide a laboratory for you, so you can start through here, and it's a 2 hours that you have to assess yourself and assess your knowledge in this type of technology areas. So that's all at my end. Thank you so much. So I'm seeing that we have two questions here. Jane. Uh, no, one is for me. Let me. Is there a voucher attached to the AI challenge too? No, sorry. It's just for the Power Platform exam, just the fundamental exam. So it's not for the AI challenge yet. So if I get any uh, news actually and anything from the update from the Microsoft, I will share with you about this. And another thing, are there any learning module that share D365 configuration? Learning module, I think, yes, it should be here. Not for the AI skill challenge, but for the in the Microsoft Learn, I think so. So it should be Dynamics 365 certification here, and also there are some learning paths, for the Dynamics 365 in the other page. So you can browse the Microsoft Learn and search for this. So you will get great information and great things around the Dynamics 365 as well. Do you have any point here, Nicole, for this, or?
And no, I was only thinking about that we have on Microsoft Learn a lot of about Dynamics 365, and it
Yeah.
depends on the module which configuration you are looking for. So if you're using the search bar and you're looking for a Dynamics 365 configuration and you have the filter on the left side,
Hmm.
then maybe you will find everything you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the Microsoft Learn Dynamics 365 training. So yeah, there are lots of things here. So you just need you browse and surf this the Microsoft Learn site. So there are a lot of great information there. Oh, that's it. Thank you so much, Nicole, and everyone that joined today. And it was pleasure to host this session today. And next week we will start and kick off our October session. I will shortly publish our October session and line up a speaker through our LinkedIn page. So stay in touch for the upcoming events. Thank you and bye.